Is it funny? It's funny. Okay. Here's a disclaimer for you. I have not used any other pattern or tutorial to learn to make these, and I have not searched to see if there are any paid for tutorials out there. So I don't feel bad for sharing how to make this. These are sold on Etsy and other places, but it looked easy enough to make, so I just sort of figured it out on my own. So I don't claim that this is the 100% perfect way of making them. I don't know if this is the same way the other Etsy sellers make them, but this is just sort of how it seemed to make sense to me. Mine that you were going to see me make is definitely not the most beautiful that I've seen. I will leave all that creativity and amazingness up to you. So at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it helps out, and happy knitting.
First, you'll need some supplies and maybe a cute little bowl to gather them in. And don't forget to light your favorite candle. You'll need a clear, empty Christmas bauble, very inexpensive, found at Michael's. You can choose the more narrow ones like I did, or a larger version. Clear fishing line for all the fish we won't be catching. See, it's clear. DMC threads in any colors you choose. I chose this Christmassy one. I eventually get rid of this thread because it was just too fussy to use, and I just turned to fingering weight yarn. Just wanted to let you know in advance. Size 2 double pointed needles for the actual knitting part. And these things are bamboo marking pins that look just like mini knitting needles. They are so cute, and you can find them very inexpensively on Amazon. Now let's put it all back in our bowl and move it to the side, and let's get our holiday spirit on. Take 2 double pointed needles to do your actual knitting on. They don't have to be a size 2, but it just helps if they're a similar size to the bamboo marking pins. Now, start as you typically would with any knitting project. A slip knot, and then decide how many stitches you want. Now, I wasn't following a pattern, so this was a lot of trial and error. And before we get too far, I want you to know that the DMC thread has no bounce or memory, and it splits. So I found it quite difficult to use. So you can use it. I did create one with the DMC yarn that turned out lovely, but it was rather difficult, and I ended up just really preferring to use fingering weight yarn, as you will see here momentarily. Now let's get started knitting. Knit as many stitches as you would like, whether you want your fabric to be wide or whether you want it to be narrow, more like a miniature scarf. It's completely up to you. This is your project. The only limitation is your own creativity. And if you're using DMC thread, that's your limitation. I don't know if you can tell how difficult it is. Look, Christmas. Oh, so lovely. Christmas colors, DMC. I don't like it. Just ball that up, throw it away, and just throw it away. And all right, Christmas colored yarn, fingering weight yarn, where we should have been the whole time. Now go ahead and restart that whole process all over again, because we love festive stock yarn. Now knit, 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 knit. Knit as much or as little as you'd like. And every time you turn it around, pull it down a little bit, see how it goes. And then when you get it to a length that you think you like, then you must stretch it and pull it and admire it. Cut your yarn and try to make a tiny ball. Now, open your bauble and then touch the pointy bits to make sure they're still pointy. And then you're going to want to remove a good length of fishing line, and that'll be used here shortly. Go ahead and set that aside. Now you're going to insert the mini knitting needles into your mini knitting however you choose to do so, and this is just how I chose to do mine. Now, this is what I mean. Make that little mini yarn ball and use all methods necessary to create it, and I chose super glue. Now we're going to take that line and thread it under your stitches on the needles, and we go under the stitches so that they'll be secure. So you're going to tie several knots in place, good strong knots. Now please be advised, I have no clue if this is the right way to do this or not. This is just what I did. So I tied knots about 2 inches above the needles so that I could then attach the line to the middle part of the bobble. And then I gently smushed the knitting needles and knitting down into the bottle, and then I used the end of a knitting needle to sort them out. Then I ran the line through the top part of the lid attachment, and I tied it around the metal loop where I thought the little scarf looked good hanging at, and then I just sort of clipped the line and then pushed the ends down into the hole to hide them. So there you are. Now mine isn't perfect. There are plenty of beautiful and spectacular ones on Etsy that are constructed better, but this gives you a jumping off point. So attach your ribbon, trim your tree, and gift them to your friends. Thanks for watching this little tutorial, and I hope it helps you in your Christmas gifting adventures. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, I hope that you will give me a thumbs up. Please leave a comment down below, and please subscribe.